Good afternoon. My name is Emilio Hernandez, and I'm gonna be doing chapter 8. It's Greek to me from the book How to Read Literature Like a Professor. So, the chapter thesis is that there are three types of myths: Shakespearean, biblical, and folk/fairy tale. Myths are bodies of stories that matter. So, Greek and Roman myths are the ones that are very connected to our lives in the modern world, which we don't realize strongly, but we subconsciously know that that's true. So the main points is that the three sorts of myths are Shakespearean, biblical, and folk/fairy tale. The biblical myths are the most common of myths because it covers a large array of human situations, and I will cover more about human situations later on. So, the most important quote is that myth is a body of story that matters. Because, okay. Second, every community has its own body of story that matters. Example is with Greeks and Romans, or even connected today with our own stories that relate back to Greek and Roman. So, Greek and Roman myth is so much part of our fabric of our conscience. Example is how many schools and colleges now, high schools and colleges, have Greek and Roman based mascots like the Trojans, Spartans, Athens, and etc. There are many more mascots. So, classical myth is an overt subject matter of poems and paintings and operas and novels. Is how they usually. Well, this is the way that most classical myths are expressed. And back to how I was talking about the human situations in the reading. One of the important writers is Homer. He shows four great struggles of the human being, which are a struggle with nature, the struggle with the divine, the struggle with other humans, as well as the struggle with ourselves. So that connects to many Roman, Greek and Roman readings that I will talk about later in this video. Alright, so a later example that I used was straight from the text. Main points that I would like to talk about are bolded. So basically, it said that Icarus gets all the ink. So the story of Icarus was about his father Daedalus, who made his own rings, who knew how to get off Crete and safely reach mainland, and he actually made it safely. So Icarus is the son of Daedalus, and he gave him instructions to do the exact same thing, but he recklessly didn't follow his rules, and he ended up plunging to his death. His fall remains a source of enduring fascination for us in our literature and art. So many people express that this is a clash between an adult's wisdom, which is Daedalus, and as well as the child's adolescent recklessness, which is Icarus. And it also talks about how there are two great poems based on the painting that showed the fall of Icarus. So, two authors are the two creators of two poems were W.H. Auden and William Carlos Williams. So W.H. Auden made Musée des Beaux or Musée des Beaux Arts and the Landscape Fall of Icarus. So Bruegger introduces the plowmen and the ships, neither of which appears in the version that comes to us from the Greeks. William and Auden find their turn slightly different elements to emphasize in the painting. William's poem stresses the pictorial elements of the painting, trying to capture the scene while sneaking the thematic elements. Even his arrangement of the poem on the page, narrow and highly vertical, recalls the body plummeting from the sky. Auden's poem, on the other hand, is a meditation on the private nature of suffering and the way in which the larger world takes no interest in our private disasters. So the way he analyzes this is that it is astonishing and pleasing to discover that the painting can occasion from these two different responses. Beyond them, readers find their own message in all of this. As someone who was a teenager, they make the connection that a person that is now in their 60s, they remind themselves of the fate of Icarus, similar to being able to get a vehicle, and now they're finally able to drive at a young age, preferably teenagers. So basically it describes how all driver education and solid parental advice in the world can overcome and allure that kind of power. And sadly, in too many cases, those young drivers shared the same fate as Icarus, meaning that they were reckless when it came to driving, and they ended up most likely being seriously injured or ended up dying. So that's the connection between the Greek and Roman passage of the fall of Icarus with now example of modern age with driving. So some key chapter vocabulary was pathos, which is a quality that evokes pity or sadness, and ingrained means it's firmly fixed in our established. It's difficult to change, it's deeply embedded and difficult to remove. Overt is done or shown openly, plainly or readily apparent, or not secret or hidden. So basically, Greek and Roman myths are ingrained in our life right now. So onto the quiz. Alright, so basically, first one, fill in the blank. Foster describes several works of literature based on one Greek myth, including Musée des Beaux-Arts and Landscape of the Fall of Icarus. Who is this myth about? It's explained further in this video. Was father made it a safe escape from Crete to another land. Knew how to get there safely. Son didn't obey the rules. He ended up dying. So second is Foster also says that modern writers often borrow from one particular Greek author, and the person who it is Homer. So 3 is name one modern adaptation listed in Foster's chapters that is based on Greek or Roman myths. So first is the Musée des Beaux-Arts by W.H. Auden, as well as Landscape with the Fall of Icarus by William Carlos Williams. But those are the Greek and Roman myths. But the biggest modern adaptation would be Omeros by Derek Walcott, and that is related to the Greek myth or Roman myth from Iliad. So, on to number 4. What universal themes or conflicts are present in stories like the Odyssey, Oedipus of the King, and other ancient myths? So, I have to provide evidence. Okay. So, most times, all these types of myths show loyalty, heroism, sacrifice, loss, and wisdom. Example is is with the loss of Icarus when he died when he failed to listen to his father Daedalus. And explained before is that it was the clash between the adult's wisdom and the child's recklessness. And so, coming back to the human situations and struggles, so what shows connected to Iliad is this long story myth, and so it explains how there is this need to protect one's family, which is connected to Hector from the story, as well as the struggle with the need to maintain one's dignity with Achilles, and then the determination to remain faithful and to have faith is Penelope, and the struggle to return home, Odysseus. So the thing that connects all these 4 situations that they all share struggles of the human being, with nature, with the divine, with other humans, and with ourselves. Thank you for your time. This was chapter 8. It's Greek to me.